Hello, Necrosis. I have more bad ideas to be done, and step one of that particular branch of bad ideas involves having a web server, which I have not set up yet. So I have essentially two goals. I'm going to try to, one, create a Windows Server 2016 web server, see if I can run it and access it like a web page. And two, if I can get that far, I want to then attach it to the second pfSense router that we had made previously that's isolated, and see what it takes to get port forwarding to get that port 80 onto that machine so the NAT can send the traffic where it needs to actually go from the outside. Step one shall be to take a Windows server. I'm going to make a clone of one of these guys. We'll just call it web server. And I'll just put it on this guy for now. Alright, the copy is done. There it is. So let's go ahead and boot her up. Where the hell are you? I don't see you. There it is. For now, we'll just give it 4 processors and 4 gigs. I guess that'll be okay. It can be fine-tuned as necessary later. Probably should have given it a little more RAM. It'll be fine. Working on updates. What? Damn you, Microsoft. Success, we're booted in. Now I just need to wait for that server manager thing to pop up, and hopefully through this I can figure it out. I did a little bit of Googling, but not a lot. Looks like the server manager is fully loaded now, which should mean I can add like a role and feature, etc. and see what happens. I'll have to give this machine a name too, but I can worry about that later. Provides a reliable, manageable, and scalable web application infrastructure. Sounds fancy pants. I'll take it. I see. Here's some more options within that. We got, let's see. Just gonna see if anything that's not ticked might be of interest. Dynamic content compression, security stuffs. Don't need any of that, don't need any of that. So we'll let that install and go from there. While that's doing its installation, I'm going to go ahead and make a test page. That's really all I'm going to need in this moment, at this time. Besides maybe making the hard drive bigger later, but I'll just call this a web server folder. And if we make a text document, and we have to turn on file extensions. If you don't know how to do that, there you go. View, file name extensions. Done. Every single Windows installation ever you gotta deal with this. Now, an HTML page will still work with just text in this case, since it can display nothing but text. There, we'll leave myself a nice friendly message. So now I have a little HTML page in this folder called webserver. And now when this is done, I can see where I can go from there. Oh, no wait, it is done. Alright, cool. I guess we'll just keep going then. Internet Information Services. That looks right. Look at all this fancy pants technologies. Now, from what I recall, this can go away. And then we can add a website there. Site name. We shall call it, I don't give a shit, web server. I think it's going to be web server in all caps, because we're loud and angry. Sort of. Not really. Web server. Okay. Do I need to change anything else? It's going to be on port 80. I'll have to give this a static IP on this machine as well. I'll worry about that later. At the moment it looks like we're on .136. Pass-through connection. Cannot verify access. Whatever. And man, Internet Explorer and Windows Server sucks so much. Hey, look at that. Okay. So we already have a web server, at least this far. I think 136 is what we were at. Okay, so it looks like it works there. Is it gonna do it like that? Okay, yes it is. So now can I do it with a web browser elsewhere? So this is just on my desktop now. Okay. So it does work on that IP. So it's done. What I needed is already done. Next step will then involve the port forwarding stuff, getting it into the other network, and seeing if I can get any of that working. On to the next problem. I rebooted that virtual machine that's running the web server. It still has the same IP. I'm going to start seeing if I can forward ports, because right now it's going into pfSense. I made this temporary subdomain that's going to point to my IP address, and then later on I'll get rid of it and use something else, but let's give you a static IP. So we'll use .11 for now. Okay, so now I've got my static IP on the network, on the original router still. I'm going to just see if I can set it to forward the ports and that it goes where it needs to go. Because right now I think it defaults back into pfSense. which is not good times. So we shall go into my administration. Firewall net. Just add. WAN interface. I think HTTP is only TCP, right? Probably. I could probably just specify it this way, yeah. HTTP and HTTP. And this will tell it to direct traffic on port 80 to the web server. Hopefully. I don't know if I should enable any net reflection stuff, but I'll enable the net plus proxy just to be safe. I always forget that there's a third entry you have to make. If I typed 80, I would need 80 here as well for the redirect port. Okay, so it made the net rule. Now the question is, will it work? We'll find out. That would be a no. It's redirecting me back to HTTPS. Okay, so I see what the problem was. I did a little search and there is no problem. Not on my end. So my port is forwarded correctly out. And it is going, you can see right there in Opera. The problem in this case was with Chrome. It's got that redirect cached and it just does not want to let it go. In other words, Chrome is being a dildo. Alrighty, let's go to step 2 of this process. Step 2 will involve, well, for one, I got to boot up the second pfSense. While that does that, my understanding is it doesn't even matter, by the way, if you turn this on or off or anything. If you forward the ports, it takes precedence. It's just Google Chrome was caching the redirect and not letting it go. So I went into the network adapters here and pfSense LAN 2. So we still have that part of the settings. That's good. Now I'm going to have to change some stuff here. And this is where things will get a little more potentially complicated. So right now there should be no internet on the web server. We put it on the other router through the network card, but it's got a different subnet, so the static IP does not work, or at least it shouldn't. Just going to make sure pfSense 2 is booted. It is. Just say google.com, because alright, fine, we'll just say 8.8.4.4. Just want to keep a continuous ping going. Now, hopefully I remembered the correct information I was using on that. Hey, alright. So now we're connected to the second router. So right now, this web server is isolated from my normal home network. It has a second router. And this should no longer work either. Take me somewhere, like, I don't care where, anything there. Just so I have a different web page, just so I can reference it. Like, obviously it's not loading, and it's not displaying the page from a cache. So we now have an IP on the second network, and we need to do what I believe to be 2 steps. My idea is this: forward the port from router 1 to router 2, and then from router 2 forward the same port to the web server. It sounds simple enough. So the first step is changing the original firewall rule on the home rule, because we're no longer forwarding it to our subnet. We need to forward it to the second router. Here's the second router, and essentially we're just going to do the same thing we did before. So we shall taketh the net. This is the net, okay. Just no rules because it's a fresh. Take the HTTP ports, keep them on the HTTP ports 192.168.2.11. I don't think I need to give a flying shit about any net reflection stuff. It's a second network, so I forgot we have this IP address. So it was just trying to send the port to the gateway, and that's not going to work. It has to send it to this IP, I think. Going back into the net rules. And now that I think about it, this wouldn't have made sense anyways. Like, this subnet's not visible whatsoever to the network. Not on this side. So I don't know what the hell was going through my head. So if the redirect is .1.4, this is the IP the second router has on my first network. This is how this router communicates to the other one. Okay, now we've got it all figured out. It was pretty much simpler than I thought it would be. So, in the first pfSense router, I have this working, as you can see right here. The firewall rules for the NAT, I had enabled pure NAT for NAT reflection. The problem was the port was being forwarded correctly. The outside world could see me, but when I would type it into my phone on my network or here, going from within my network to the WAN, it had been having issues. But this I turned on, set it to pure NAT. I have to do the same thing with my subsonic server. And for the second private network router, not under rules, under NAT, I had it set to, okay, system default. But the catch is I had to go here and interface, go to the WAN, and down here where it says block private networks and loopback addresses, I had to turn that off since it's going from a reserved network range. It was not seeing it from my own system. From within my own network, I couldn't access the external IP without turning that off. So that was the final link to the puzzle. Everything works. Everything works now. Go away. Just like the website says. Necrosis out.